Hey guys, welcome back to the Friday Vlog, where we discuss activity that goes on here with the BuzWeaver channel. That includes things like current events, headlines that are in the news, social media, pop culture, technology, and items of interest that come up during the week that allow us to have a little bit of a dialogue. If this is your first time here to the channel, welcome. Or if you are a returning visitor and or subscriber, I want to thank all of you guys for your continued support.
We start things off with the Washington Examiner. C-virus was best thing that ever happened to Biden, key aide says in book. A new book revealed that Anita Dunn made the comment in private to an associate, according to The Guardian, which obtained a copy at a time when the United States was struggling with rising death tolls, a shattered economy, a health system close to breaking. And of course, we are very familiar with the Democrat strategy when it comes to crisis, because we have Rahm Emanuel. Never let a crisis go to waste, and they most certainly didn't. And I would have to say that the pandemic just fell right in line with what the Democrats were trying to do. If you guys recall, I did a specific video from Molly Ball in Time Magazine. If you guys haven't seen it, I will link it up here in the top right-hand corner for those on YouTube. And those on other platforms, I will leave a link below this video. Absolutely check this out. Like, share, comment if you will. Feel free to share it wherever you want. This was Molly Ball, the secret history of the shadow campaign that saved the 2020 election, where she outlines in 6,683 words, roughly, of how there was a coordinated effort by a cabal of people, what we also call the establishment, to ensure a fortified election with a desired outcome. So all that content, all that detail, what we have been talking about here on the channel for the last 3 years, confirmed here. And then, of course, from the Washington Examiner, even more confirmed information. Now, moving on to what happened here in Georgia on Monday, insurrectionists, Dem state reps occupied Georgia Capitol to protest election reform bill. Now, basically, the reform bill requires that individuals have a ID to get mail-in ballots, because as we saw from Molly Ball's article, as well as the policies, laws, and other things that were being changed on the fly last minute back in October of 2019, preparing for the election coming up as early as a year before the election, of course. And so they are arguing that, as Stacey Abrams says here in a tweet, we know that again and again these laws are designed for one specific purpose, and that is to discourage or prevent people from voting. How is that possible when IDs are required for a host of different things? And I said in response to this, why isn't it perceived as allowing people to vote securely? For 4 years, we had to hear the Democrats talk about Russia, 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 the compromise of our election system, and we needed to secure it and make sure that people's votes counted, and that each vote counted, but more importantly, that the votes were legitimate votes. So I find it very interesting that suddenly Stacey Abrams calls GOP efforts to restrict voting as new Jim Crow laws. Wow, talk about going to the extreme. Now, if you kind of want to see their little mini uprising, if you want to call it that, it wasn't really all that much. It's just a few Dem reps there, and this is the State Patrol kind of reading the outline or section that they were violating. I think she just walked right into his megaphone there, and now he's kind of trying to tell her to step aside. And of course, they're going to make a big deal about it. The cameras are all there, and it doesn't really escalate into anything as like what we saw at the Capitol in Washington, D.C., but that was kind of their little uprising moment. Not a lot of people there, as you can see. It was mainly for display for the cameras. And as you see here from Dinesh's Rumble channel, which I have one as well, so if you haven't already, be sure you're following me here on Rumble under BuzWeaver. So what really fascinates me is when you tie all this together. Like for the 3 years that I've been on YouTube, fortunately with only 6,000 subs, I'm not nearly as targeted as some of the larger channels. But I found this very interesting and troubling, because in a time where we're facing demonetization, censorship, suppression, and other things for fellow commentators here on YouTube, We see this article from Fox News. George Floyd, Minneapolis to pay social media influencers to spread message during Derek Chauvin's trial. Now keep in mind here, we have to be very careful how we as conservatives word our videos so that we aren't demonetized and so forth. Now, granted, we can say what we want to say, we just lose monetization on the videos. But Minneapolis is set to pay 6 social media influencers to help disseminate city-approved messaging throughout the upcoming murder trial of Derek Chauvin, the ex-cop charged in George Floyd's death. Think about that. We've talked about how the media, or the Democrats, have worked alongside the mainstream media and tech giants to go after President Trump. Molly Ball's article about the cabal setting up and fortifying an election to get a desired outcome. And here you have a deliberate, willful, and intentional group, or Minneapolis, right here, the city of Minneapolis, is set to pay 6 social media influencers. So when we're out here struggling, trying to talk about the issues, and we've seen many things happen there in Minneapolis also, and so some of the things that we couldn't even really talk about without being potentially demonetized, and now they're going to pay up to $1 million, I believe it was right here. The Minneapolis City Council voted unanimously Friday to approve a $1 million communications and de-escalation plan. De-escalation plan. Okay, so maybe to temper the environment maybe as this trial goes on, because of course, as we just talked about, it isn't really about our Constitution, it isn't about the Bill of Rights, and it isn't about our laws, it's about the outcomes. And this particular outcome is something they're going to be very concerned about because, of course, as we understand it now, that George Floyd consumed the additional amount of fentanyl that he had in his vehicle, I guess, so that he wouldn't be caught with it. And that particularly complicated the direction of his death. I'm not trying to minimize this in any way, shape, or form, but I'm sure people are starting to understand as this goes to court and this sort of information comes out, people will start to realize that at least George Floyd was partially responsible for his unfortunate death because he had taken the rest of his fentanyl and, of course, had a extraordinarily high toxicity level in his body. But I just wanted to share that with you because as creators, of course, we are constantly contending with ensuring that, of course, we get our AdSense revenue and so forth. And, of course, your guys' support of the channel helps all that happen. But here it looks like Minneapolis is prepared to actually pay social media influencers to spread message during Derek Chauvin's trial.
All right, guys, so that's going to wrap it up for this Friday vlog. Thank you so much for the likes, the shares, and the comments. Also very important. And, of course, below this video, you can find the various social media sites that I belong to. And I would encourage you guys to give me a follow there. That way you get additional content outside of YouTube in and of itself and or the videos based upon the platform that you are on. So thank you for all the support from the various alternative media sites as well. And appearing right there on the screen, that would be the channel icon for YouTube. Clicking on that would allow you to subscribe as well as give you information where you can select notifications so you know when there's content here on the channel, letting you know when there's a Friday vlog or additional content here. And I will see you guys right there behind the camera next week.